What is required from us? Paradoxically, what I'm about to say is fairly straightforward. It's to remain true. It's to remain true because the truth is violated. When the truth is violated, the only thing that can restore that is to remain true. And to remain true is the most difficult thing to do. Remain true here also means not falling into any of the schisms, isms, or extremisms. The only place we are allowed to fall, if pun is coming almost on its own, is that place in between. The only place we're allowed to fall is deep into the cavern of our own heart and wear it gracefully. This is the first and foremost prerequisite. Even knowing very well that this might well be the very end of it as we know it in a current set, in a current structure, we are here to remain these columns, islands, pillars of light. And with that, it means also not allowing ourselves to be succumbed to anything that reduces us there and then into less. This is a challenging call. And that's what Rumi meant, that when and only when everything collapses, only when everything, as it were, all the lies begin to wear the clothes of truth, the truth is violated and pretends to be something else, whilst the lie turning into the truth. This is the time then when the wayfarer meets the other and they begin to whirl. That's the meaning of the dervish. Not whirling figuratively. It's the meaning of that what goes underground when everything is nice and dandy. But when the requirement comes, consciousness has to rise from the depth and in very powerful waves. So anything that prior to that was okay to be shallow is not longer going to cut it. So in other words, it's like you have to rise to the highest, tallest, most magnanimous, biggest, most all-encompassing, total, utter version of yourself. This is the time, no other time will be given, neither for you, nor for me, nor for anyone. Because there will be no other time. And guess what? Not because this will save that what eminently will happen, no doubt, has to happen, because there is yet to have a sweet ending of something. Nothing collapses in a sweet way. There is no such thing as a demolition team comes and neatly dismantles this building or that building. But precisely because of that, this is the preciousness of being here right now, of who you are, because this is a chain reaction, this is the quantum world, this is how it works. This is the deepest meaning of the walking universe. It doesn't matter what on mental level or intellectually you have mastered to understand this. It's not a metaphor and was never a metaphor. It's actually my beloved master's words, walking universe. I would never dare to use it as a metaphor or as just pretty words. Walking universe is exactly what it means. That whatever you do, whether you sit down, lay down, get up, and go, you always do that as the entire creation, entirety of the universe. Of course, in many cases, the universe or your universality, of which I'd like to speak more and more now, because I realized there is a fundamental lapse in understanding still. Lapse, catastrophic lapse in understanding in spiritual community above all else. Precisely when it comes to the purpose of individuum, individual. Instead, individual has been bashed by this teacher, that teacher, this teacher, that teacher. Bashed, bashed, bashed. What is being bashed is the universality of who you are. Breaking down words into the composites of what they're made of, going to the etymology of the terms, always helpful exercise, and that's what individual here stands for. Individual made of out of the words undivided. Nobody is individual who is walking out there. People are sleep personalities and trying to be someone. It doesn't matter, masks are off. The mask grown to the skull, amalgamated into the bone structure. No individuality is born even. Forget about non-duality shit. All this is betrayal of the teaching. I have been pussyfooting and only a few times came and said it as it is. But who would listen? Everyone wants to jump into the Brahman, into non-duality, the non-dual state of oneness, when individuality has not even fully been embraced. Do you see how ridiculous that is? And what is individuality? Is being undivided. Individuality here means that. Individuum, individual, individuum. So the walking universe shrunk to the capacity of that minuscule idea of oneself, whereas every single human being is the epicenter of creation. A world is here, concentrated and born again all the time. This is the true mystery of human being. Ancient mystery. Pre-religious mystery. And that's why it is so frightening when it is revealed into one's own heart. In one's own heart. When that is revealed, it is truly frightening. Because it's a revelation of astronomical proportion. Revelation of being one and the only, alone, totally, utterly and totally. This was the subject of our retreat in Germany. This is the meaning of pure subjectivity, nothing else. It's not by dissolving your individuality, which is another affair altogether, we will speak about that, but dissolving the individuality before individuality is fully came into its manifestation is an oxymoron. And this is why I said that this is the greatest lie. So even those, the army of spiritual seekers who are here to fulfill the purpose of what this time requires, have been dismissed, you know what, neutralized, comfortably numb, comfortably numbed, as in a Rogers' song, you know, the Wall album, that track I'm talking about. Euthanized. So, forgive me that kind of not enough tea, you see. But walking universe, not enough tea, because, you know, if you don't drink enough tea, you tend to fly. You tend to go somewhere. The high rhetorics takes over. Whereas the trick is to keep it down, keep it nicely grounded, you know, like nicely grounded. The feet of the Guru is the highest because of that. The highest place in Indian spirituality. It is unfathomable and will never be understood by anyone because it's impossible to understand. But that's the meaning, because this is the part of the body that touches the Mother Earth, in the one who realized what it means. That's why the feet of the Guru are the holiest. It's holier than the third eye. That's the meaning of padukas. So the walking universe is precisely walking. It's not flying. Walking. It's carrying the totality whilst the feet are planted on the ground, grounded. Being able to bring the totality of consciousness and plant it back into this world that is so deprived of this, desacralized in every way possible. Bring it back. Bring it back. So that's why, for me personally, my fate is decided. This little Uzbek tea boy man, old man, accompanies me on all my tea drinking. A reminder. Keep it simple. Can you see? Can you see him? No? No? Well, it doesn't matter. He's just half laying down, relaxed, undone his garment, drinking tea. The hat went on the side from perspiration. And that's where the fate is decided. This is where everything is decided. In you, and nowhere else. So that's down to earth, simple attitude and understanding. Because in the time of temptation, all of us will be tempted. Some of us have been already tempted. But that is just nothing. This is not real. The real temptations will be when there's more. The more consciousness there is, then the real temptation there will be. And there will be, because this consciousness can no longer be contained, so therefore it will begin to burst. Whenever neurophysiology can hold it, it will do its work. No, it needs to burst. This is the simple answer to these spontaneous awakenings. Nobody cares anymore. Consciousness coming into this world, looming over, ready or not, brace yourself, because all these otherwise begin to get shrouded in deepest darkness. This is another perspective. So if we somehow comforting ourselves that it's all going to spare us, it's going to spare my house, spare my comfort or discomfort, my busyness or being this or being that, none of that's going to happen. World is so going to change in the next 3 years, we will never recognize it. And we will learn to live. The real challenge will be later. Not now. Now it's the challenge to simply walk the walk. But then, whatever that is there left, will be left to pick up the pieces. So it needs to have that consciousness, which will be able to be that light. Whatever you do, doesn't matter. Maybe karma is such that some will be in more comfortable positions, others will be pushed into privileged positions, someone will be spared, others will perish. Doesn't matter. The point is here is that what measure of that truth was there when it is required. That's all that matters. So as far as I'm concerned, this work was always about that and nothing else. I think that's kind of shall suffice for warming. So, just to maybe give it so if before anything that was understood on somehow whatever conceptual level no longer going to do. So when I said happiness is the key, happiness is the requirement, that means right now the teaching has to bear the fruit. Because what I'm talking about and what we now witnessed and witnessing is only a result of a misplaced source of happiness, nothing else. The calamity, the whole civilization took its course somewhere, somehow, in such a way that the source of happiness was overlooked in favor of something else. Somewhere else eclipsed our vision that somehow happiness is elsewhere. So this is where the teaching needs to bear fruit in each and every one of you. So therefore, if you ask me, what shall I do? You have to be happy. You must be happy. You cannot longer be not being happy. Because if you think that being intelligent, smart, seeing it all, and being miserable somehow helps the situation because you know what's coming, you understood it, you cracked it. No. No. That's what walking universe means. The awakening here is to be of service. The greatest service here is to bring this down. Bring this down. Ground it back again into the earth. Keep grounding that. The tantamount of that awakening needs to be grounded back, brought into every sphere. Every sphere, everything you do has to be precious. Precious beyond belief. Even if you don't have to wear it on your sleeve because you will be misunderstood. I can't wear it on my sleeve in my own family. Even if every touch, every word, every consideration, every kiss, every stroke, every move is filled with that enormous, enormous sense of unbearable sense of beauty. But this cannot be shared with another. Do you understand why? It cannot be shared. Shared is only when it is measured then. Then it begins to coagulate. It takes different form. But you have to have that again in you, completely and utterly alive. Completely and utterly alive as that child that you once were. Spontaneous and utterly alive. Utterly alive. So much of that aliveness has been killed, systematically, purposefully, methodically. And you have to be courageous to do that, because it cannot be done without courage. It cannot be done just in calculating somehow manner. At some point, it's bound to be down to that taking a plunge. When we will speak about it in greater detail of the importance of individuality and where and who takes the plunge, we will, of course, go into the greater subtlety and greater detail of what it means. Because nobody ever just gets it. At some point, it is simply given away.